What's up, guys? I'm going to break down X-Men 97, Season 2, Episode 5. This episode has gotten a lot of mixed reviews, not very good ones. I also believe it wasn't the best episode. I also don't believe it wasn't the worst. I'm going to tell you what I like about the episode and what was it and some of its strengths. I'm going to talk about the episode, and I'm going to tell you how I think they could have made it a little bit better. And that's my opinion and like how I feel like the story could have went out. But anyway, so the episode starts out. We've got Wolverine and Morph, and they've teamed up with the original Team X, which Maverick, which we saw in the OG season, of course Sabretooth, and Lady Deathstrike is with them now. Lady Deathstrike is with them because Lady Deathstrike's father, Professor Oriyama, developed the adamantium bonding process. So she wants revenge on Dr. Cornelius, the guy from Weapon X that did all of this, for taking her father's work and like using it to make weapons like Wolverine, etc. So she's mad. Then you've got Sabretooth, who just wants to rip him up for tearing, messing with his mind. Pretty basic stuff. It's Sabretooth. Wolverine is leading this crew. They're going to go. This is a revenge mission, basically. Maverick's there. He also wants revenge for being experimented on. And we have a new face, which is Garrison Kane. If you don't know who Garrison Kane is in the comics, he also went by Weapon X. He showed up in a lot of X-Force comics. I'm not sure if he's a Rob Liefeld creation or not. He probably is. I'm not real sure. But he basically is just kind of a, like, he's kind of crazy, kind of like Deadpool, but he's not. He's a little more grounded. He makes like guns and stuff come out of his arms. He can throw his hands at people. He's a pretty cool fighter. He was kind of cool in the X-Force comics back in the 90s. And I had his Toy Biz figure and his hand popped off, and I thought that was neat. But anyway, so they're flying in their ship, and they get to the Weapon X facility that Captain America and Black Widow gave the information to Wolverine about in the end credits scene and at the end of episode 4. They arrive, but they're attacked by a bunch of animals. And these animals take the whole ship down, a bunch of birds, actually. They go down. Morph comes to. He's kind of calling out for Wolverine. He doesn't know where he is. He turns and looks, and Garrison Kane is impaled. So on a helicopter thing or a tree, I can't remember. So that's about all we got at Garrison Kane. And it was quick and lived and was kind of cool. It was a nod to the comics as the Weapon X program and stuff. Then Lady Deathstrike shows up, and she's okay, and she's examining the birds, and you can tell the birds have been mutated somewhat into like some like vicious things. And then Morph and Lady Deathstrike go looking for Wolverine, and Maverick shows up. Maverick's fine, and he's cool. Then they get attacked by a polar bear. Wolverine shows up, fights the polar bear, pops out his bone claws. This is the first time Team X has seen his bone claws. The polar bear's kind of giving him the business until Sabretooth jumps out and cracks its neck, because Sabretooth's just a monstrosity of a Sabretooth. So they get together and they head into the Weapon X facility. They realize that the animals are mutated by some sort of, like infestation brood. So they get in there and they get on some computers, and then they find Dr. Cornelius, and Dr. Cornelius is laughing, and he's like, ha ha ha, look who came home, stray mutants, blah, 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 and, being the typical villainous scientist dude. And then he turns into a brood. He just, turns into a brood, and he and the rest of the brood creatures that are in the facility, which other humans in the facility obviously turn into brood too, attack, and they fight them off, and then they get to into like an adamantium bunker where they're safe, and they're like, man, we got to get out of here. Morph Wolverine insists on going further into the adamantium bunker. And they're just kind of like, why? Why do we need to keep going further? Wolverine clearly has his own motives. And we have a good feeling that Wolverine is there to get his adamantium back. So Sabretooth makes the call. So does Deathstrike. They don't want the two X-Men together, so Morph splits up with Sabretooth and Deathstrike, and they go to a control room while Wolverine and Maverick go down to the adamantium bunker. And Morph discovers that Weapon X was using the Brood, which is an alien species that they found, to try to create like hive minds so they can control their weapons with like a hive mind. And they inject some mutants with the DNA that they've experimented on, and they transform into Brood, and it goes badly because now the Brood are, once one Brood is out, they seek to survive, they seek to continue to reproduce and make more Brood. So that's what happens to probably a bunch of mutants and scientists that are in the facility. So the Brood are running around and they're doing their thing and running around the facility trying to kill Morph and Team X and all these guys. They end up getting down to the bunker to find Maverick, and Maverick comes out. He's hysterical. He's been attacked by tons of Brood, and Wolverine got taken. Morph got attacked by a Brood before this happens, and the Brood tried to hit him and turn him into a Brood, but decided not to because they're looking for specific hosts for their species and who is the best at what they do, and that's something Morph says, and so they're after Wolverine. The Brood succeed. They turn Wolverine into a Brood. And also, before I keep going, the Brood were in the comics back in the day, Claremont run. They went into space, I think, and fought them. They turned Wolverine into a Brood there. There's a bunch of different things with the Brood all over the X-Men comics. It's kind of like aliens and fun in the comics and creepy sci-fi, like impregnation by crazy bug aliens. But anyway, so the Broodverine gets out. He massacres Maverick right in front of them. They're like, holy crap. They try to stop him. Then Morph remembers in the tapes that Dr. Cornelius said that none of the subjects who were subjected with the Brood serum could survive the adamantium bonding process. So they're like, okay, we've got to bond the adamantium back to Logan to purge the Brood DNA out of him before he gets out and starts creating a bunch of Wolverine Broods with healing factors, which is really, really bad. So he, Deathstrike, and Sabretooth come up with a plan. While they're fighting Broodverine, they accidentally open up a can of Omega Red. Omega Red's in a test tube. Omega Red can't be affected because he's basically a zombie. Like, there's nothing. The Brood, it wouldn't even work. He's basically dead. Like, that's what he is. It's his mutant ability. So so all the Brood and Broodverine are just fighting Omega Red while they figure this out, and then they go and Morph. This is probably one of the best parts of the episode. Morph turns into Cyclops, and he comes out and lures Broodverine out. Broodverine out, and he's like, hey, come here, Logan, look at me. And he's being silly, and he's like attacking his manhood or whatever, and it's just great. It's classic, like, Cyclops being a butt. Like, it was funny. And then Wolverine comes out, and he starts attacking Morph, and then Sabretooth tries to take him out. Comes up and tries to take him out from behind. Well, Wolverine immediately heals and comes at Sabretooth and just tears him to shreds, and then throws him into a thing where a bomb explodes, and just really cool scene of Sabretooth being ripped down to, like, his skeletal and muscle. Like, definitely rated R, like, gory Sabretooth. And Deathstrike then shows up to help Morph. Morph is able to turn into Jean, which gets through to Wolverine's psyche, and Wolverine he's able to regain his consciousness for a minute. And Deathstrike stabs him and throws him into the adamantium tube, and they start up the process and bond him to the adamantium. He gets back out. He's back, baby. He slices up all the Brood. He slices up Omega Red, and they get out. And they blow the facility up. All the Brood are dead. Poor Maverick's gone. Poor Garrison Kane's gone, and Omega Red is probably just laying there underneath a pile of a bunch of dead Brood and stuff, just getting ready to just find his way out because he doesn't really die. And that was the end of the episode. So a lot of things I liked about it was the references to sci-fi horror stuff, like The Thing was one of them, and Alien, obviously. That was fun. And, like, the suspense of them running around fighting aliens locked in a facility, like, that's classic, like, alien horror type thing, and that was fun to see the Team X. Morph and Sabretooth going at each other the whole time. Morph is great. He's just great. He's just giving Sabretooth the business every time Sabretooth gives him the business, and that was really cool for the two characters. Then of course the cameo of Garrison Kane was funny. That was a fun part of the episode. And then also when Morph and Sabretooth and Deathstrike were going through the DVDs of the different Weapon X projects, see all kinds of cool stuff. You see Phantom X. You see, of course, you see Wolverine, Sabretooth. You see Cyborg. You see Mama Max. You see, let's see. Who else was on there? It was a bunch of them. Agent Zero. Pretty much anybody you could think of, but the biggest one was Winter Soldier was in there. So some of Winter Soldier stuff is in there, and they teased Winter Soldier in there. So that was really cool. And Winter Soldier is a big tie into Wolverine's history. And I don't know if X-Men 97 will go down that road, but it would be okay if they did. That would be cool. Or if they kind of did a spin-off thing with Wolverine, that would be a cool story plot. But so those were some cool things about the episode. The episode was fast-paced. It was action-packed. And in the very end of it, you come to find out that Wolverine drug all of them there just because he wanted his adamantium, and he knew he needed a team to go in there, and he knew it was going to be bad. He really didn't want Morph there. That's why he took Team X. He didn't care if they got killed. So, but Morph, being Morph, and as Deathstrike calls him, Tomo, which is, you'll find out if you haven't watched the episode, stays loyal, and he follows Wolverine all the way in and out to the end of this adventure. And then, it's all revealed Wolverine was in there just to get his adamantium back. That was it. Very selfish move by Wolverine. Very selfish. Costing people their lives. And stirring up, he could have went in there and let all the brood out. And they could have infected Canada or whatever. Like, that would have been awful. Like, he's lucky that he and Team X went in there and Morph was there to help, because he and Morph could have went in there, or he could have went by himself, got infected by the brood, and then went running out, infecting everybody, and then we have like a world full of brood Verines running around, ready to colonize the next planet and kill everything with healing factors and claws. So, very, very low point for Logan. Leaves him as the bad guy, but is there a reason he really did it? He didn't want to tell anybody, which is Wolverine-esque. That's what he does. But is there a reason? So, those were the points of that episode that were cool, and that was the gist of the episode. Why a lot of people didn't like it is because it's not sticking to the storyline. We just left off of episode 4, which is huge. It was the big reveal. It was the big origin story of Apocalypse. Magneto was killed. It was all kinds of stuff going on. Everybody's come back from the past now, and they're all there. And we get this Wolverine-centric Weapon X story that has nothing to do with what's going on. And it kind of throws off everything. So it's basically labeled a filler episode, even though it's part of the series with Wolverine getting his claws back, basically. A lot of people didn't like that. And then you know what? All you people out there are hating on the Wolverine Morph relationship and whatever you think it is. Y'all need to chill out and just let the series play on, and stop labeling things. It's just don't do it. It's pointless. Just enjoy the show. So as we keep going on, with this, it just definitely didn't capture that, what we got out of the first 4 episodes. Now, I'm going to tell you how it could have. So, this is just, I wrapped my head around it, and honestly, when I was watching the episode, I was putting this together, because it just made so much sense to me. So, let's just say when Beast and the rest of the X-Men got back, they all got together and there was a training session. So let's envision at the beginning of the episode, they're on the plane. Wolverine is flying the plane with Morph, but he's having flashbacks. Morph is totally in on this. He understands what's going on. And he understands why Logan goes to get Team X, because he needs them, because they know the Weapon X facilities and Weapon X stuff just as much as he does. But he also bribes them. He's also like, hey, like, we're going to go in here and you guys can have whatever you want out of the facility, and all of this. And here's all of this stuff, you know, whatever. He's got stuff to bribe them to get them to come. Whether it's money, whether it's information, whatever it is. And not just, you know, he and Deathstrike and Sabretooth hate each other. There's no reason why they should all be working together that easily, to be honest with you. But they did. So they're on the plane. Wolverine is having a flashback. So in the episode, we get a flashback moment. They're having a training session. And it's showing Wolverine having a training session. And let's use Morph, or we can use any character you want to is in there training with him. Cyclops, whoever, it doesn't matter. He's having a training session. They're fighting. He's using his bone claws. Everybody's seeing his bone claws for the first time. You know, he's doing his thing. It's very similar to what happened in the comics when he was healed. He went in and did a Danger Room sequence where he popped his bone claws for the first time. Everybody figured it out. And in this fighting sequence, he gets kind of overwhelmed and he gets raged and he attacks who he's fighting against, who he's training with, and almost kills them. Beast immediately notices something. They go and they check him out. They run vitals on him. Xavier picks up things on his mind, whatnot. Beast figures out that he's mutating. That the adamantium was keeping his actual feral mutation, much like Sabretooth's, dormant. So he's turning more and more into like a more feral version of himself, much like Sabretooth is, and won't be able to control his rages, and eventually will not be able to remain very human, but more animal. This bothers Logan. Logan needs to figure out what to do. So he goes to Morph and he says, I'm going back to get my adamantium. I know somebody that can give me information. Thus, he goes and meets Captain America and Black Widow, gets the information. He and Morph put together the Team X team, and here they are. They're on their way to Weapon X. They get to Weapon X. Everything plays out just like it did. That's fine. Even the Brood showing up. Although I don't think the Brood were really needed for this episode, but they were cool, so let's leave them in there, right? So they're fighting the Brood. Then everything's going the way it is. Team X has no idea that Wolverine's there to get his adamantium. Morph knows about it, obviously. Or you could even play the episode as if Morph doesn't know that Wolverine just talked to Beast, and this is just him doing the mission now. So they're going down to he's trying. It just unfolds the same way, except when they get in there and the Brood attack them, they not only infect Wolverine, but they infect Sabretooth as well. Sabretooth and Wolverine turn into both Broods, and they're unstoppable. They can't stop them. Sabretooth rips Maverick apart. Deathstrike and Morph are stuck, and they back up in the Mega Red's tank. And Morph just, boom, releases a Mega Red. A Mega Red fights both of them, the Broodverine and the Brood Sabretooth. They're going at it. This gives Morph enough time to come up with a plan to try to stop this, and he realizes the adamantium bonding process can help. So they're moving with that plan. But when Morph and Deathstrike get into the adamantium chamber, all the tech is gone. Everything is gone. And they're just stuck with no hope whatsoever. So they're like, we have to kill Sabretooth and Wolverine and all of the Brood. So they're coming up with a way to kill them, like coming up with a bomb or whatever it is. They have to come up with some way to kill them, even though they're virtually unkillable. 3 of them, Mega Red as well, and they've got a whole bunch of Brood. So they get back down there. They get stuck in the fight too with Omega Red. Omega Red is doing pretty good. He's killed all the Brood insects, but he's just stuck with Wolverine and Sabretooth. Then all of a sudden, Sabretooth starts to reject the Brood. All of a sudden, Wolverine starts to reject the Brood. Let's put the emphasis on the healing factor here. In the comics, Wolverine's healing factor purged the Brood from him. Sabretooth would do the same thing. Both of their healing factors are magnificent and should have been a part of the story and should have been the way that they got through the Brood, to be honest with you. So they start purging the Brood from them. Omega Red then starts laughing, and he can't wait to fight them in their normal form. So he turns and he's like, I'm going to entertain myself with you two. He wraps up Morph and Deathstrike, and he's getting ready to kill them. And then he's vaporized. And Apocalypse walks in. This ties the story into Apocalypse. Apocalypse walks in. Morph and Deathstrike drop. He laughs at both of them. Walks right up to Wolverine and Sabretooth and watches them heal. And says, good. And he looks at both of them and he picks them up and he just walks out with them. And he dips. And that leaves Morph and Deathstrike by themselves. And all they know is that Apocalypse has them, but they have to blow up the facility. So they blow the facility up. Morph kind of confides in Deathstrike a little bit. They have a little moment. They talk a little bit. Deathstrike disappears into the forest, into the sunset. Morph is by himself. Morph is sad. He has no way home. He doesn't know what to do because Deathstrike sucks and she's rolling out on him because she's a villain. That's what she does. So Morph is getting ready. Is getting ready to try to figure out what to do, and he stands up and he's getting ready to just start walking through the forest when all of a sudden he sees lights. And from a distance, he sees Jubilee and Sunspot and Archangel, Psylocke, and Cable. Cable's been tracking Apocalypse. Cable and them show up, and Jubilee goes to Morph, and she's like, what happened? And Morph is distraught, and he's like, they took Logan. He's like, who? Apocalypse took Logan, and he took Sabretooth. And they're like, why would he take them? And Archangel is like, to make them horsemen. Why else? And then Cable goes, this is not good. This is not good at all. And so they have a little talk or whatever. You see, they took out War in episode 2. So Apocalypse needs a horseman of war. Who has fought in thousands of wars? Well, not thousands, but wars. And they keep mentioning it in their dialogue in the episodes. He tells Magneto, been in a lot of wars, bub. Freaking Sabretooth. I've been in a lot of wars and around a long time. You know, the way I've survived. Blah, 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 blah. The wars. They've been in them. Perfect. So, that's it. End of the episode. You get an end-credit scene of Apocalypse getting Sabretooth and Wolverine back to wherever his little chamber lair place is, and all his little Apocalypse people are there. And he starts laughing, and he goes, you two have seen many wars. Confirm more war stuff for war. And he said, we will see, because only the strong will survive. So, you get the gist that he's going to put Wolverine and Sabretooth up against each other. The winner gets the adamantium and gets to be his horseman. That is what happened in the comics. And it's a great story plot, and it tied that whole episode into that. Wolverine still kind of selfishly goes there to get the adamantium and puts people in harm. Still get that. But it goes really awry. And look, and see what happens. I like that outcome better. You may not. That's fine. That's why I'm making this video, so we can just talk about this stuff and have fun. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying X-Men 97 like I am. Let's hope that we get some banger episodes coming up. We got episode 6 tomorrow, because today's Tuesday and tomorrow's Wednesday, and we'll see how that plays out. So I hope everybody has a good day and a great time, and peace and cheers.